Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 287 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is Jordan Willis.
And my name is David Howe.
And the four of us have made it back together again to present to you the 6th annual Golden Headz Awards, the evening you've waited all year for, the premier video game award show on all of the internet. We will be giving all of our hot takes, all of our favorites this year. But before we get into all of that drama, we've also got some news to cover. Switch sales have surpassed the PS2 in the United States, so it's very close to being the all-time. We all know how much we played on other systems now that the Nintendo year in review is out. And the Sonic 3 movie came out. But before we get into all of that, how's everybody's week been?
Pretty good. Yeah, I've been having a pretty nice week, including a nice weekend. It is kind of a bit of the calm before the storm right now. Obviously, the day this episode comes out is Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everybody. If you're listening, I hope this is a nice present for you. I hope this is a nice respite from your family to go into a room, shut all the lights off, and listen to the Golden Headz Awards by yourself in your family home. I've been having a pretty good time. I actually just finished a book. I read The Fall of Hyperion, and I actually finished that this morning and really quite enjoyed that quite a bit. And yeah, it's been a nice kind of chill time before I end up going home for Christmas. I'm also going to England like a couple of days after Christmas. So that'll be exciting to see some family over there too. So that'll be fun.
Wow.
I'm doing all right. I think I mentioned last week that we got a dog, and man, I love this dog, y'all. I've forgotten what it's like to have a dog and how just goofy and happy they are. It's some good energy. Our house is a lot more chaotic because of it, but I'm here for it. And then my kid's been off school and the plant nursery I work for is closed. So I'm in that weird space where I get really confused about what day it is and keep mixing up like, oh, tomorrow we got to do this. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's yesterday or whatever. Not that bad, but you know what I'm saying? I don't know. So things are pretty good. I've been busy with just kind of like preparations for, I guess, these podcasts we're doing. And then also just like kind of wrapping presents and all that stuff. So I'm kind of looking forward to the break. Like, after Christmas where I can like maybe do some work on Monochrome Heights and relax and play some video games and stuff like that. But
I can't wait to nominate Monochrome Heights for a Golden Heady next year in the 2025 Golden Heady Awards.
Seriously. I'm kind of in the same space, Patrick. I've been very busy with holiday preparations. Also want to say Happy Hanukkah, as it also starts on December 25th this year. So that will also be here once you're listening. And right. Yeah, just lots of gift preparation. I'm planning on hosting my family again, so I've been like working on a menu for them coming over. Went to a friend's family's holiday party because like I don't have a huge family, but I am friends with people who do, and they just are also like the more the merrier. And it's just so interesting to see like a huge family all get together and just sing songs for 3 hours.
And like old school Christmas party.
I sing with them. They used to have, apparently they used to have bound thick books of music, but now they just use, YouTube music and like, or YouTube karaoke and on a big TV, and they've got a karaoke system and karaoke instruments, So the spirit is still there. There was a dip competition. I did not win. A chocolate chip dip won, but I was still very proud of the dip that I made.
You make a dip.
Yeah.
I thought you all went for a dip and then rated it.
No, like chip dip, right? So it was like everybody brings a dip, and then there was voting, and I think I like low key disqualified myself because I got there late because I was finishing making my dip, and but like very proud will be doing that recipe again for my own holiday parties. Yeah, the hot honey that my family makes now, it's so good. I am obsessed. I'm obviously like biased, but like, if you want to place an order for hot honey, hit me up. I will get it to you after the holidays.
I'm doing okay. It's been a bit of a roller coaster. This past week, I had one last week of work. I took one last job. And that was just, it wasn't like too difficult, but it's just work is work in the film industry, or 12-hour days and just doing that. And then we had some family things come up, which I have shared with them. But if you want to know, you can ask me, but don't really feel like sharing too much on the pod. But other than that, I'm doing okay. Finish up my Christmas shopping actually right before this. We recorded another episode earlier in the day, went in mad dash to finish my shopping, and then came and got all dressed up for the Headies.
That's true. Definitely. This is one you want to watch the YouTube on, because we are all dressed to the nines right now, or at least Jordan and I are wearing dress shirts and blazers. Sadly, it seems Summer and Patrick have decided to go for the Game Awards chic, which is a t-shirt under a blazer.
Okay. But my t-shirt, since you're calling attention to it, I did wear my Night of the Round t-shirt, which is a VGM band here from the Midwest. They primarily do metal covers of Final Fantasy songs. So if you're going to bring shade to that, like...
Hey, I'm just calling it like I see it. That's all I'm saying.
I am who I am too. So
Patrick hates being a fancy boy.
That's true.
Also, I do want to shout out too that we did do a Secret Santa yesterday with the Discord, the podcast Discord, and man, what an amazing community building experience that was. It was so good to be with everybody. Thank you. I want to give a shout out to Kirosetta for my gifts. Got some pretty great stuff, and including a 3D printed Famicom cartridge holder, which is very nice. I've been collecting Famicom cards recently, so really, really good stuff. But yeah, thanks everybody who came to that, and please join us at the Discord so you can join us next year at the Switch Headz Secret Santa.
Thanks. That was a ton of fun. That really was a highlight of the year, to be honest. That was just so much fun.
I can't believe we've been doing it for 4 years now. Yeah. That's our fourth year doing it. That's how long we've all been together, y'all.
Yeah. Thanks, Summer, for organizing it too.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love doing it.
Found family is best family.
Exactly. It's our get together. Yeah.
Yeah.
A few shout outs then to our last episode, which was on Picross. Over on YouTube, we got a few comments. Mazier D said, "We'll listen while playing Picross." That's probably the best way to do it.
I listen to most podcasts while playing Picross.
Hans Gauger said, "Super Pick Heads." On some other topics we talked about, Hatstack Mike said that they really miss Miitomo 2. They had so much fun reading all their friends' dumb answers to the questions. Then Shade came in and said, if Nintendo does bring something like Miitomo back, they hope it's related or tied into the console experience.
Yes.
And also I wanted to say, Shade also recently on our Discord in the Picross channel said they started playing Picross too. So your conversion rates are going up.
Hell yeah. What about you, Patrick? You played Picross yet?
I was going to do it for that episode, but I didn't get to it. So
you can still do it after the episode.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the permission.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
Whoa.
Oh man, but we really appreciate hearing from everybody. If you too want to be shouted out, you can leave a comment on the YouTube or join the Discord, make a comment there. I also appreciate it when folks share the podcast with a friend or post about it online somewhere like Reddit. We got a Patreon. If you want to financially support the podcast, that really helps. You can become a patron over there. And also, like David said, we're all dressed up. So if you want to watch the video version, you can do that on YouTube. And while you're there, hit like and subscribe. We're going to start off with some news that was hinted to earlier. And that is that in the US, at least, according to Circana, which is the entity that tracks video game sales, our friend Matt Piscatella over there has informed us that the Nintendo Switch has now sold more units in the US than the PlayStation 2. So I think it's 46.6 million units sold in the US, which makes the Switch now second in all-time units sold across video game hardware in the US, which is the Nintendo DS is the only thing left. And again, this is just the US. I think the Switch is still trailing behind the PS2 globally, though I think that's just a matter of time, most likely.
I will be vindicated, dude. People are talking trash in the Discord saying it's not going to happen. I will have my day in the sun.
Yeah. Once the Switch goes on like a permanent price drop,
Mhm.
it's over for
Yeah.
PS2, I think, at this juncture.
Mhm.
Now, kind of the bigger question when talking about like domestic sales is if it's ever going to pass DS, because it is trailing about 7 million units behind the DS here in the United States, that's quite a uphill battle there to be able to do that. But I think another kind of takeaway here is that just shows the power of the PS2 overseas. The PS2 had a very long selling life, especially in countries we've talked about before, like Brazil, where it was still being sold new until like just a few years ago, to be honest. In Europe, the PS2 was an enormously huge seller. So it is a matter of time, but props to the PS2 for holding out this far. What a epic console.
Next up is that Nintendo has put out its annual year in review, like every other app and thing. I feel like we are now like my bank did it this year.
Oh no!
Where did you spend the most money, Patrick?
So it was like one of those online banks. So it's like mostly for savings accounts. So it was like which month you saved the most in? And I was like, what the fuck is this? Y'all didn't need to do this. Anyway, but doesn't it feel like everyone does this now?
Yeah.
But Nintendo has continued to do this. 2024's year in review is what they call it over at Nintendo. I think probably like many people, playtime on Switch is dipping a little bit this year.
I just got my memory from last year of how many hours I played because I like posted it to social media, and I put over, we'll say like 600 to 900 hour range because it was because it was what I gamed on, right? It was my primary system. And this year I put somewhere in the 300s, I think.
Yeah, I was 331 hours on Switch this year.
Yeah, big dip for me. And I think it's because it was split to other spaces.
I also though think that includes like other people playing games like on my account. And like you were talking, Patrick, a lot of that is skewed by Magnus playing games on your account.
And we play games on his. Yeah.
Right.
So mine is a bit like tricky for that reason now that we, share. And then he always wants to play games on his account. So when we play like a new game I buy, sometimes we play it on his. But whatever. It's probably roughly all evens out.
Well, yeah. It comes out in the wash. But what were our top games? And for me, it was Picross S+. So, I'm not a poser on the Picross episode. I had 75 hours in Picross S+, and that's not including all the other Picross games that I also played, including La Joie Grimoire on the Steam Deck. But what about y'all? What were y'all top played games?
Well, mine is a little biased because it's RPG. So it's like I played Paper Mario, and then I also played Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. So my N64 was up there. And then also Mario and Luigi Brothership was up there because I'm about a little over 40 hours in that. And then also Balatro. So basically just RPGs and
Balatro.
Yeah.
What about you, Summer?
Yeah, my top game was Fire Emblem Three Houses. That game that came out 5 years ago. And then my number 2 was the Fire Emblem Engage, the other Fire Emblem game. And then weird thing. So I'm going to say that my actual third is Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door because I know that I've put around like 30, 40 hours into that. But Nintendo was reporting that my third game is Fortnite. I went and checked. I have not been playing Fortnite on the Switch. The number of hours recorded, 53, is identical to the 53 hours that Xbox is saying that I spent there. So
That's
it's like cross-pulling it. And I don't know that there's a way to fix that. I uninstalled Fortnite off. Like it's not even on my Switch anymore, but I guess the account is still linked.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started playing Fortnite, did you make your Epic account did you tie it to your Nintendo account?
I don't know.
Did you play Fortnite first on Switch?
Yes.
That might be what it is. I bet when you made your Epic account, you like tied it to your Nintendo Switch account. So it just like read all that stuff like as your Nintendo account.
Probably. Yeah. Boo. Paper Mario is probably my third. Yeah.
Unsurprisingly, mine is Splatoon 3. I got 289 hours in Splatoon 3.
Let's go.
And then 100 hours in Smash after that, which I think might be low too because I play a lot of Smash at my cousin's on his Switch.
Wow.
So that might need to be increased. And then And then my third was Game Boy Advance app on the Switch. So
Fire Emblem.
Probably Mario and Luigi.
Oh.
You played through that, right?
I played through a few games on it
Yeah.
this year. So I had 50 something hours on there. So
Interesting. Yeah, I think this is getting better every year. They show more interesting stats every year, which I think is good. But also the other platforms are getting better too. Like I thought Steam's was like really comprehensive this year. I really enjoyed that. There was even like a YouTube gaming one, which was kind of interesting. I went to that. Super Switch Headz was on mine because I'm always checking the videos to make sure they look okay whenever we upload them. But yeah, it's kind of like a fun thing at the end of the year. You get a little self-conscious at these end of the year roundups, but I like seeing it.
Well, next up is that Sony and Kadokawa, who is the FromSoftware parent company, have been in talks, and we talked about this a few weeks back, where there was some discussion about maybe Sony acquiring Kadokawa, but it sounds like they have come to a agreement where Sony will become the largest shareholder or stockholder, and is going to have a bunch of shares, but not a ton, not a majority. I think it's going to bring their total holdings to 10% based on what I'm reading here. So not outright ownership. I suppose that is a better outcome than them like actually buying the company or having a majority share. But I don't really know, what the effects of that are going to be. If anybody here has any thoughts on this.
It's basically still ownership, isn't it? In the way that shareholders work and how we've seen them influence the industry.
I suppose if they completely outright owned it, they probably would, not put their games on Xbox and stuff like that, right? Like, but I don't think that kind of decision making is going to be up to them, right? Because it's
10%. I mean, and 10%. I mean, that's for some perspective, like Nintendo has a 30% ownership in or maybe it's 33% ownership in like the Pokemon company, and that's every game is on there, and that's still not, and that's still a lot less, right, than this. I think I'm happy that it's not outright ownership. I don't really know what the play is if they're just putting in a bunch of stock. I mean, I guess it's just they have more of a say. They probably have somebody on the board. So I don't know exactly what the takeaway is from this, but I'm just like inherently very against any of this kind of consolidation after the past 2 years in the gaming industry. Hopefully this ends up not being cataclysmic, but we found, especially with Sony in the past few years, when they buy something, it ends up not working out for them. So I'm really glad that Kadokawa was able to talk some sense into Sony into having much less ownership in the company, because it is a giant media conglomerate. That would have been pretty devastating for the industry.
Next up, we're going to be talking about the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 just came out. I actually haven't had a chance to see it, but David, I know you have. Do you have any thoughts on Sonic 3?
That's right. I was lucky enough to go to an early like influencer screening, I suppose you could call it, of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 on Tuesday. So a couple days before it came out, and it was good, I guess. I mean, I think people like it a lot more than I did, TBH. But I will say it's probably the best Sonic movie out of the three of them. So it's like, I would say they're all about a 6 out of 10. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, like they're good movies. They're great for kids. I think kids would love these. I think as a Sonic fan, I was excited. I think Shadow was easily the best part of the movie. Keanu Reeves does a great job. And I feel like the best story elements were all of like Shadow's kind of like side story that was happening throughout the movie. You'd see little bits of flashbacks and all this kind of stuff. I feel like the emotional core of the movie was there with Shadow's story. There's a lot of Jim Carrey in this. He plays two characters, and he plays two characters the whole movie. So I've never been like the biggest fan of Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. I know a lot of people really love him as Dr. Robotnik. He's never quite won me over. So like, having twice as much of him, I was like, okay, here we go. We're in it. We're in it now, buddy. But yeah, overall, it's a very good movie. It's got a really great Rotten Tomatoes score. And yeah, it was a fun time at the cinema. You could do a lot worse this weekend. And by that, of course, I'm talking about Mufasa.
And Variety is reporting that they are already prepping to make Sonic the Hedgehog 4 with a spring 2027 release date. Were there... I don't know. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to ask that question. I was going to ask if there was any like teasers.
The answer is yes. There is a mid to post credits tease for the next movie. I'll say that. That's all I'll say.
Fair enough. That's a good way to say it.
It's funny. It's like these are remarkably consistent movies. I will say that. It's like they've all been done by the same director, seemingly all done by the same writers, for worse, I think. I think the writing is the weakest part of these movies. Visually, they've all been very consistent. So it's like, I think they're just basically pumping out Sonic movies. It's like a factory at this point, and because of that, they feel a little uninspired, right? But I think ultimately I would rather have consistent media than them just be completely trash, I suppose.
Next up is that Weltris is going to be added, or is already added, to Tetris Forever in the first free update that Tetris Forever got, which I think it gets a few other things along with this, but that's sort of one of the big things. And if you go back and listen to our Tetris episode, I think we did talk about Weltris, if I'm not mistaken. But just quickly, does somebody want to explain what Weltris is?
David, please go ahead.
I'm not like a Weltris enthusiast necessarily, but Weltris is kind of similar to another game that we talked about in that episode as well, the Virtual Boy Tetris, where it kind of like, or it's 3D Tetris, I believe it was called on the Virtual Boy. But it's basically a game where your Tetris pieces are going away kind of from the camera, like down a well. So it's kind of like, it's a bit of a 3D version of Tetris, but originally released for the MS-DOS. So this is a pretty strange version of Tetris, but it's also exciting that this was added to Tetris Forever, because I feel like the actual collection of Tetris games in Tetris Forever is kind of a lot of the same stuff. It's basically Tetris and Bomb Bliss, and then like a couple Japanese only games that are like a little bit different, right? So they did say that they'll be adding more games down the line. They've been doing this for Atari 50 as well, and a couple other games. They've been adding games as they go. They also did, do some quality of life improvements. There are a couple more I'd like to see that are not included here. Like, for instance, all of the graphics stretch out the games to 4:3 aspect, which makes sense because that's how most people would have played them back in the day on TV. But also it means that in a lot of these Tetris games, which were actually made for slightly thinner aspects, the Tetris blocks are not squares. They're like a little stretch slightly. So when you turn them, they kind of distort. That's something that would have just happened as you played this on the TV, like IRL, but I would like a way for the games to have accurate pixels like you have on NSO. You can do that with the NES and Super NES emulators, but there's still stuff I'd like to see changed, but I'm just happy that it's getting updates at all.
And then our last bit of news here is about the canceled game Star Wars Battlefront 3. So apparently some folks have found a Wii build of the game on some sort of hardware or on some sort of test kit, I guess, that was found, and is being restored by a fan group called the Free Radical Archive. So this is apparently a playable build, a new playable build of Star Wars Battlefront 3 that is going to be put out by these fans.
Yeah.
What a wild, many years later thing, right?
Dude, this story's crazy because apparently they found it at like an e-waste recycling center.
Wow.
And like the build is from like about a week before they stopped working on the game. So it's pretty much like the most complete build that probably exists or it will be able to be found, which is like really sick. I actually was a huge Battlefront 2 fan back in the day. I used to love like going to game cafes and then just being like, who wants to play Battlefront 2? And then like the entire game cafe would hop on and play Battlefront 2 because I think it was 16v16 on PC. So it was just like such a blast. And the fact that like this one got canceled really bummed me out because they really improved from 1 to 2. Like 1 was fun, but 2 they added in heroes and like it just made the experience like much more varied. And so, man, whenever they canceled this game for like seemingly no reason is like such a bummer. But apparently it was like pretty much done. Like they were just doing the last kind of like final passes. and they're waiting to do like marketing, and it would have been released. So at least this game is like pretty complete. So I'd be curious to play this.
Yeah, it sounds too like the people that release this are working on basically doing their own bug fixes and polishing through modding, right? So I think that the idea is basically this team of preservationists will be like completing the game for the team, which I think is actually really fucking cool. We've seen some stuff like that in the past with the release of Dinosaur Planet for the N64, which eventually obviously turned into Star Fox Adventures, and people that just get really dedicated, have a great starting position on like, a game that is mostly complete and then can go and kind of do it for them. I love seeing that kind of stuff happen. I really hope that this also happens with the compilation of Rogue Squadron 1, 2, and 3 that was supposed to release on the Wii that got canceled. That has been long rumored. I really hope somebody finds that someday, because that game was also very close to completion, and I would love to play that as well.
All right. And that is going to do it then for our news section. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be presenting the 6th annual Golden Headz Awards. All right, we are back, and this week it is the 6th annual Golden Headz Awards. We do this show at the end of the year. Every year, we give out the Golden Headz Awards, which are special awards that we give out as a group to various entities and games. And we also pepper in our own choices of best games in different categories.
That's correct.
And so we're going to get started in just a minute. But I think before we do, we have a formal.
That's true. I wanted, since we're all dressed up and we're all having such a good time, and this is the most prestigious video game award show out there of the season, I thought it would only be fitting if we proposed a little toast. This is to 6 years of the Golden Headz Awards. We are all holding up shot glasses for audio listeners. and to many more to come, and to many more years of the Switch Headz community at large. Cheers, everybody. Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
Salud.
Ooh-ah. Bup, 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 bup.
Yep.
Woo!
Woo!
Well, David, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good. That was honey whiskey, so it really
I was about to
good.
ask what everyone shot. Yeah.
I had a little bit of Weller 12. I pulled out some of the nice stuff for this.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Mine was also a nice whiskey. We had some friends who kept regularly coming over for game nights and bringing new whiskey every time.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
So it's like we have 3 or 4. I don't even know which one it was. Just grabbed some.
Very good.
But I think we're going to start off the evening with a Golden Headz Award. Jordan, you want to take it away?
All right. Well, the first Golden Head Award of the season is for the best Nintendo remake or remaster. And the nominees are Luigi's Mansion 2, Mario vs. Donkey Kong, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, and Another Code: Recollection. And the Golden Head Award goes to, it's Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. Are you kidding me? Come on, no competition.
Yeah. I mean, you say no competition, but this was a year that was almost entirely comprised of Nintendo remakes and remasters.
Yes,
Well-
I think this is a fitting start to our awards show, because a lot of Nintendo's output this year was remakes and remasters. There were very few new games. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot of non-Nintendo stuff on.
Yeah, I think our Nintendo rules are a little lax this year, and we
Very.
will be nominating games from throughout the gaming landscape.
Yeah. I remember we kind
Absolutely.
of fought about that last year. And
Yeah.
this year, no offense, Nintendo. We recognize that it was a thinner year.
Yeah.
It's okay. They spent most of their year making Switch 2 consoles in their factories.
It's also like hard to beat this game. Like, this game is on its own just one of the best RPGs ever made.
Thank you.
I will acknowledge that, having finally played and finished in 100% of the game. That, dude, there's no chance. This category had no chance.
Yeah, I think this was the pretty clear winner. So we're going to stick with Nintendo for just a little bit, though, and we're going to each give a pick for our best Nintendo first party / exclusive Switch game. Who would like to go first on this one?
I'll just keep up the energy because mine is Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door of every game that came out on the Switch this year. New games that came out to the Switch this year. That one is my favorite. It's so obviously like compared to some of the other remakes that like we have seen recently, this one really does feel like a good combination of just uplifting quality of life things and staying true to the original, which is all that you really want from most remakes, right? Is you want it to kind of fix some annoying things, make it prettier. They completely overhauled the soundtrack. I am obsessed. I was listening to this soundtrack during my work commute because it's so good, and just a lot of the humor just still hits really well. The storytelling, it's all just, oh God, yes, it's still
I'll
there.
go next too because I'm in the same boat. That's my pick as well because just like I'm so mad at myself for having waited so long to play this game, but I'm also so overjoyed that I get to experience it in such a beautiful and well presented package. You know what I mean? So it's like I got to play the game, and this is to me like the definitive edition now, you know? So man, what a beautiful game.
Patrick, what about you?
Well, I felt a little weird picking Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door because I thought it was a remake, and I figured some other folks might pick it, and I definitely considered it for this category, but I wanted to pick a new game, and so I chose Emio the Smiling Man Famicom Detective Club. So I know that this is a little under the radar for a lot of folks, but this game really stuck with me, and I continue to think about it from time to time. I think talking about fixing quality of life things, I played the other Famicom Detective Club. Well, one of the two remakes. And I didn't play the second remake, partly because the first one was a good but frustrating experience. And then they fixed all of that. This game just flowed so well and was such an interesting mystery, had a really incredible epilogue that really... The ending to the main game kind of felt rushed and weird, but then they had this epilogue, and that epilogue really addressed all of that and was this really interesting experience, the whole thing. So I don't know. I'm gushing about it, but I loved this game, and it was my choice for best Nintendo first party game this year.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. I need to go back and finish that game because I also very much enjoyed the 4 or so chapters that I played of that game. I really enjoyed it. I'm surprised nobody picked Echoes of Wisdom for their favorite Nintendo exclusive of the year because I did not either. My Nintendo exclusive of the year goes to Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble, which was a Nintendo Switch exclusive kind of weirdly. I don't really understand why that game did not at least also come out on Steam. I'm still hoping that it does come out on Steam. If it does, I will rebuy it once again on that platform just so I can mod the game. But wow, I was completely blown away by Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. I'm a huge fan of the first 2 Super Monkey Ball games. I think those are by far the best Monkey Ball games. This is kind of in the conversation of potentially being the best Monkey Ball game of all time. I still think Super Monkey Ball 2 outshines it, but I think this game might be better than the first Super Monkey Ball. And that's really saying something because I think that is an all-time classic. Whatever they did to go back to the secret sauce that those first 2 games had, they brought into this release. And it's funny that I'm even putting it up here as my top game because I didn't even really play any of the mini games or the like multiplayer aspects of the game. I'm strictly talking about the single player. I'm talking about the replayability of that. I'm talking about the challenge of it. And in addition to that, you can play the entire game co-op with a friend, which I think is pretty incredible. I think this game kind of went under the radar on a lot of people's end of the year lists. And I really hope that if you haven't played this game yet and you're at all interested in the Super Monkey Ball franchise, you should definitely give this one a shot. It's the best that the series has been in decades. And with that, we will be moving on to the next Golden Head Award of the evening, which will be presented by me. The next Golden Head Award is for the biggest AAA flop of the year. I hate to be a negative Nancy, but boy howdy, did we have some epic flops this year in the AAA games industry as budgets get bigger and bigger and bigger. If you do not hit those margins, oh boy, you can lose a lot of money for your respective gaming companies. And the nominees are Star Wars Outlaws. Wait, hey, let's try not to editorialize the nominations. Concord, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Foam Stars. And really, this one's pretty obvious. I mean, it tanked an entire studio. Concord has won the Golden Head for biggest AAA flop of the year. Rest in peace to everyone who had anything to do with this game. I think it's only even taken to the next level by the fact that there was a secret level episode made about Concord after the game was completely removed from all digital services and all the merch sold out in the Sony online merch store.
What a weird journey that game had.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Very unique.
Feels weird to clap for the entire studio getting shut down.
I'm clapping for Firewalk Studios because I personally know many people that work at Firewalk Studios. They're all very good people, and they put their hearts and souls into this game. And this game flopping has nothing to do with the actual creators of the game, right?
Yeah.
I think it has everything to do with mismanagement at the Sony level. It has everything to do with placing bets on things that on live service when that should not be the direction that the industry should be going, and many other things, but nothing to do with the employees. So absolutely hats off to the great developers at Firewalk, and better luck next time, Sony, I suppose.
Next up, we're going to each be giving an individual pick to the opposite of what we just kind of talked about, which is these giant AAA games that then don't sell and flop. And the antidote is indie games. So we're going to each give our pick for best indie game of 2024. And if y'all don't mind, I'll go ahead and start this one out. This is thanks very much to David recommending this game so much. I have a little bit of recency bias here, but I have kind of hardcore fallen into UFO 50.
Yeah.
I started it only at the beginning of this month and dabbled and instantly knew I was going to really like this game. And then over the last week, I've actually been playing a lot more of this, and I have barely scratched the surface. So it's a little weird to pick it, but at the same time, I already know that and I didn't unfortunately get a chance to play a lot of indie games that came out this year. But even when I look at what they are and I look at this game, I'm sure they're amazing and I can't wait to play them at some point, but I'm still confident that if eventually when I play them, I'll be like, yeah, I still think UFO 50s.
It's an astounding achievement. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Technically, UFO 50 absolutely wins this award for me. But UFO 50 would also win most of the awards this year. So what I decided to do was to actually talk about some other games that I enjoyed this year, even if I thought that UFO 50 would have taken some of these awards. So I want to take my opportunity for Best Indie Game of the Year to shout out one that I think went a little bit under the radar, but I think absolutely deserves a shout out, and that's Lorne's Lure. I think Lorne's Lure is a first-person parkour climbing game that I feel in 5, 10, 15 years' time will be looked back on very fondly. This is a game that will age incredibly well. It played amazingly upon release and has seen so much updates and quality of life improvement throughout the year as it's been going. But this is a game that wows you with its sense of scale, its sheer enormity, the obtuseness of the story, and the vibes that it presents as you're playing through the game. It's unlike anything I've ever played before. It completely blew me away. I was lucky enough to actually get a code for this game before it released. Promise that's not tainting my decision here. This is just a game that I was super excited for before it came out, and it completely met and even exceeded my expectations upon playing the final product. If you're a fan of strange vibes in a game with gameplay that matches the vibes, so often it's like, oh, this has like a really interesting story, or it has really cool vibes or really cool graphics, but the gameplay doesn't match. Everything is just a 10 out of 10 on this game. The developers did an incredible job. Lorne's Lure is my indie game of the year.
I'll go next just because you're saying vibes. And similarly to you, there is a game that I really enjoyed and I'll talk about later, but I didn't want to pick it for too many things. So for best indie game, I wanted to go with Animal Well. I just like really enjoyed the vibe of this game, the aesthetic, the look, the like items that you get and how they're used to solve the puzzles, and just like the game being obtuse but intuitive at the same time, where you're just like, I don't really know what the fuck I'm supposed to do here. And then you just kind of mess around with your items until you can kind of figure it out. Was just so much fun. I did not get all of the eggs within that game, but I just like really enjoyed my time with it. I thought like the sound design was incredible too, of just like every creature kind of having its own like little sound, and just, man, just like what an interesting way to turn the Metroidvania kind of method on its head, because it is like a Metroidvania, but like unlike any other Metroidvania I've ever played. So
just the lack of combat alone made it very unique.
Totally. So that is my indie game of the year for sure.
Hell yeah. I also wanted to highlight a game that I haven't really seen get a lot of flowers this year, but I thoroughly enjoyed. So my indie game of the year is Thirsty Suitors. I so enjoyed this game. The writing was really just, you know me, I love a combination of like witty comedy and just heartfelt moments. You want to talk about another family story that got me to cry at the end, even though everybody is just a kooky character. It's also like, I don't know, it's kind of Scott Pilgrim-y. You've got a protagonist that is learning how to be a better person and just better to all of the people that they were really shitty to previously in their life. And that's all of the battles. You're battling all of your exes, and that's you're just coming to terms with, you know, continuing to live your life. But it's also got skateboarding as a main component of the gameplay. So you've got basically mini games of cooking and main combat that's kind of like a turn-based combat, and then skateboarding, and then just wonderful writing. It's got a lot to love, and I cried. Like, you know, if it gets you to cry, like then that's the indie of the year for me. The next Golden Head Award is the best game featuring a princess who deserved her own game. The nominees are The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom and Princess Peach Showtime.
Guess there were just two this year.
The award goes to We Love Women. Well, two of them. The award goes to The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
Yes. It has to win something.
It has to win something. And dare I say, this game doesn't stutter on the Switch. So like maybe it kind of wins by default.
And I think Peach has had a game, and
that's true.
At least one. I mean, so it's been a long time coming here.
Yeah. I think also Echoes of Wisdom is much more of a game than Princess Peach Showtime is. I think we can all agree with that. It was actually a game that was fun to play.
Yeah.
Whoa. The truth come out.
My bad. Sorry, we did a shot as we were starting.
Well, we've got another award that we're going to each give out, and that is for best music in a game. So lots of games feature such great music, and so many good games and so much good music in 2024, but we've got to pick one. So who feels like they've got a really good pick that they want to start us off with?
I would really love to kick us off, mostly because I got to see the artist from my pick twice this year in concert. That's right. Baby, baby, baby. My pick of the year for best music is Persona 3 Reload. They completely overhauled what was already an incredible soundtrack. I got to see Lotus Juice, who does all of the rapping and verses for the music from the Persona series, twice this year. 2 different locations. I'm going to see him again in January because he just got announced for MagFest. The music is so incredible. I realized that I was playing this game just for the music. It was my lunch breaks, and I was like already singing the songs before I was like sitting down with my noodles at like my at my Xbox loading up this game, because I truly was playing this game for the vibes that were created by the music. There were a lot of great soundtracks that came out this year, but this is the one that stuck with me the most, that I was singing everywhere, that I got to be in, a ballroom of like 3,000 people just belting together. Persona 3 Reload for me.
I'll go next. This is another one where realistically, I would be giving this award to UFO 50. I do want to say really quickly the fact that Eric Serk, who created the soundtrack for UFO 50, did every single song in that entire game. So all 50 games, all with many songs each, all composed by the same guy. So many of which are bangers. I don't know that there's a bad song in the entire bunch. So just on that alone, I want to give Eric Serk some flowers. He did that also in addition to making about half of the games in that collection, which is insane. So way to go, Eric. But no, I would say for my pick, my runner-up, which I will give the actual award to, is going to go to Penny's Big Breakaway. This was an amazing collaboration soundtrack. You had T-Lopes, you had Hunter Bridges, and you had Sean Bialo all collabing together to make one of the boppinest soundtracks, honestly, of the last decade. I bought this soundtrack on vinyl as soon as it was readily available. I've been playing it constantly. There's a few tracks on here that I could just loop forever that I wish were in an app like the Nintendo Music app, where I could like loop it for 30 minutes, because I absolutely would. The Penny's Big Breakaway soundtrack was phenomenal, and everybody should give it a listen.
I'll go next. I notoriously do not listen to video game soundtracks outside of the games that I'm playing them in. But I will say this year, playing so much of this game, I wanted to give this soundtrack a shout out, because it is, they did a great job just remaking the soundtrack for Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. And the fact that you could go back to the original soundtrack through the option menu was incredible. I just like love that feature. So I found myself throughout the entire game being like, oh shit, this is a banger. I wonder what the original sounds like. And then I play through a level and like listen to the original for a while and then go back and forth. Just that feature alone like made me really appreciate the soundtrack, and the fact that like they were able to glow it up in such a way that it didn't take away from the originals, but enhanced the originals in a way that the game was also enhanced. It's just like really crazy how they were able to even do that to the music as well. So I got to give this one a shout out for my soundtrack of the year.
I just want to like piggyback really quickly too, to say that they came up with, they gave us different versions of the battle theme in every chapter, and then different versions of the battle theme in every chapter, depending on what action you were taking or thinking about taking. And it, so good.
I definitely, for my pick, thought about UFO 50, because there's some really great music in there, but I'm still kind of scratching the surface of it, like I said, so I wasn't sure. And I definitely thought about Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, because that game does have incredible music. But I have found myself listening to the soundtrack for Emio the Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club, and chose that for this because it is this weird, like 80s Japanese pop.
It's like city pop,
music,
Ooh.
and it's really good. And it's like, I don't know, it's like it's really great music to work to, is what I'm finding, and also just or to like kind of put podcast show notes together too, as the case might be sometimes. So I don't know. I decided to give another award here to Emio in this case.
Wow,
that's a great pick. That all of the Famicom Detective Club soundtracks are my most wanted soundtracks on the Nintendo Music app.
Yeah, I actually have like wished that they would add it to the app. I mean, along with a million other things, but. Well, next up, we've got another Golden Head that we're giving out. And this is a bit of a bummer, another sad one here. It's been a really tough year for game developers with layoffs and unfortunately with a lot of studio closures. we are giving this Golden Head to the worst studio closure news. So there's been a lot of closures that are just kind of head scratching and or just sad. And the nominees for this award are Arcane Austin, Firewalk Studios, Team Blue, and Tango Gameworks. And the award goes to Tango Gameworks. Such a bizarre move by Microsoft to close down the studio that put out a hit cult classic, in the moment game. After acquiring that studio, honestly, all of these are terrible and could easily win. Like we talked about Firewalk already. That's just awful. Team Blue being the Netflix-owned studio that was making their first real big game. I don't know. Terrible studio closures all around.
There is a silver lining here in that Tango Gameworks seemingly will live on. We'll see what happens, but it was Tencent that picked them up, right?
Yeah.
They were closed in June by Microsoft, and then Krafton, which is a South Korean
Krafton,
publisher,
that's right.
actually is the one that acquired them a few months later. So they're apparently also got the rights to Hi-Fi Rush. So yeah, that it's such a weird situation. Part of the reason they won the award, I think, is it's a comeback story. Oh boy, but that's going to bring us to another round of awards here that we're each going to give out. And this next award is for Best Visual Design.
I'll go first. This game, it's not getting a lot of love. I actually really enjoyed and played through this entire game. And so I wanted to pick the Plucky Squire because not only does it do 2D aesthetic incredibly well, it looks like a comic I would read, like pick up off the shelf at one of my favorite bookstores and read. And then in addition to like has really fun, like 3D aesthetic when you go into the 3D world and you're kind of like in the quote unquote real world. So like I think like the mix of aesthetics and then also just like the 2D aesthetic is just unmatched, dude. It was just really flowed really well and it was like really beautiful to like look at. And people criticize the game for being a little bit slow. Personally, I didn't feel that way, but I can understand that. But the visuals are so beautiful, they like compelled me to keep going and just like be immersed in that world and accept the pace that it was giving me. So for those reasons, that's my best visual design of the year.
Wow.
I'll go next. My pick for best visual design of the year goes to the Riven remake by our friends at Cyan. There were lots of incredible looking games with lots of incredible looking art direction this year, but I had to give it to the Riven remake because it was astounding what they were able to pull off. The original Riven, released in 1997, obviously had pre-rendered graphics, and the way that they were able to take those pre-rendered graphics from 1997 and seamlessly translate them to complete, I almost said live action, complete real-time graphics is astounding. Like I didn't think it would ever really be possible because that had one of the best art directions of any game ever. And they somehow made it to where when you look in any direction, it's just as beautiful as the game was when all of the shots were actually deliberately designed for you to look at. So I think that in and of itself is an astounding achievement. And then the level of detail that they were able to pull off in this game is also incredible. Recently, Cyan has been doing kind of guess the location. Like they'll show super macro close-up segments of like some textures or something that they did. And it just makes you realize like how much work went into every single tiny little detail when you really look at all the little things. And the fact that they were able to pull that off is completely incredible. So Riven would get my award.
I'll go ahead and go next. And we talked about a minute ago of not winning very many awards here, but I'll give it this one. The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is the game I chose for best visual design. I did try to stick to some first party Nintendo games for some of these. Also, as I reflected on the games that I played in the visual design, I really do love this aesthetic. I know it was first brought in the Link's Awakening remake. So it's not original or unique in that way, but they brought in so many enemies and characters from the and races of characters from the Zelda franchise that weren't featured in Link's Awakening. And I just love the toyetic Zora and Gerudo and Gorons, as well as all the enemies. And I think it was so much fun seeing all of them. The game's UI is pretty standard. Zelda UI doesn't stand out, but I think it's really made up for in its visual design by all those characters and environments.
Well, as a cosplayer and someone who is extremely fond of the visuals of textiles, Sleeper Game came in at the end. My best visuals is going to Infinity Nikki. Holy cow. I can't believe first of all, the history of these games, just being that we were just, mobile dress up games that made so much money that we're now going to create an open world, absolutely stunning, gorgeous, completely still free to play. I would like to add, yes, you can spend money on other certain costumes, but it doesn't actually impact your gameplay. There's still plenty of other gorgeous outfits that you can get. The way that the fabrics move in this game, on top of everything else, by the way, but the way that the fabrics move, it's so natural. And it's just so impressive to me, somebody who really pays attention to that kind of stuff in video games. Just the movement of things like that, of textiles, it's so incredible. But this game seriously is visually stunning. Knowing that it's completely free to play is also just mind-boggling. It is so gorgeous on my PC. I am gushing over this. This is probably the game I will put so many hours into next year, because it came out late this year, right? But I could not acknowledge how gorgeous this is. I have not played an Infinity Nikki game before, or a Nikki game. I haven't played a dress-up Nikki game before. Wow, is it pretty?
The next Golden Head is for Nintendo's Weirdest NSO Move. And the nominees are Alarmo, MMO Playtest, Music App Releasing with Limited Music, Nintendo World Championships NES Edition not being on NSO. Pretty weird.
That's stretching the definition a little bit, but I'll allow it.
I'll allow it. It tracks. And the award, of course, goes to Alarmo.
Truly blindsided all of us this year. Yeah.
Much
Where
like
the
an
fuck
alarm
did that
would.
come from? Yeah. That's true.
It's so funny. We were just talking about how Nintendo really didn't put out a lot in games, but they sure did put out a lot in branding, right? With their NSO moves this year.
That's true.
That's true. They waited until we put out our What Nintendo's Going to Do with NSO episode to start putting out a bunch of weird shit on NSO. So good for them.
Yeah. Do any of us have an Alarmo?
No.
None of us probably.
Not yet.
Is it still available?
We're all getting it for Christmas, right? Is that the play?
We will report in the new year. We have Alarmos. Got it.
Yes.
Well, next up is the part of the Golden Headz where we give out a handful of genre individual awards here. So we're going to kind of bang through these back to back. So we always start off with multiplayer. So I'm going to go first on this one. I might be stretching the definition of a game that came out in 2024 a little bit, but I think because this event came out in 2024, I am picking the Grand Festival of Splatoon 3, which was unique in so many ways. For that event, they made a new environment and brought back so much great stuff. And so I might be stretching it, but I think it came out this year in a certain respect.
Yeah,
and that was a big event for me. So.
Yeah, I think it's stretching it a little bit, but that's a good pick. Mine is also stretching it slightly. I actually picked a specific game from within UFO 50 for best multiplayer of the year because This has been my absolute go-to for multiplayer games, and it has become a staple of a lot of my friend groups, and that is Party House.
Yes.
Party House is the deck builder game in UFO 50. It's a game where your deck is your Rolodex, and you're trying to throw the coolest house party. And this game is way more fun in multiplayer than it has any right to be. Imagine if you could play Balatro multiplayer. That's basically what Party House multiplayer is. It's an incredibly fun experience. Everybody I've shown it to has gotten sucked in immediately, and it's like the game that I reach for first when I'm playing UFO 50 with a friend. So yes, I would say Party House from UFO 50 gets my personal multiplayer game of the year.
I'm going to go with a game called Content Warning. So like I'm not like typically a multiplayer video gamer, so my pick is vibes based of like when I played with my friends, which ones do we have the most fun playing together? Deadlock is dead last. I fucking hated playing that multiplayer because it made me feel really bad about myself, but that's a whole nother topic. Content Warning is so much fun. It's kind of like, I really like Phasmophobia when it came out, and it's only gotten better. And then it kind of like we started getting Phasmophobia likes and other games similar to that. So Lethal Company was pretty fun, but for some reason, Content Warning really like did it for me. It's like a game where you play as content creators running around with a camera in like spooky situations, trying to create a spooktube video, and you only have one camera. So if the person with the camera dies, you have to run back and grab the camera and then try to film more and like escape with the camera. That is like key. And then when you bring the camera back, you put it in a machine, it spits out a DVD, and it makes you put the DVD in the TV, and you all have to sit down and watch the video that y'all created. And I was like, just that whole like interactive concept, like for a multiplayer game, is really brings that whole concept of four people not necessarily knowing where you are or talking to each other, but like brings it all together at the end. Just like a really beautiful multiplayer experience.
To bring it back to Nintendo games, I went with Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Very good.
It is easily the best Mario Party game that we've ever gotten. And I'm biased because Pauline is there. Dare I say Pauline?
I'm biased because Ninja is there.
See, exactly. We all have our biases. We acknowledge them. We understand how they influence our decisions.
Yes.
I've truly been enjoying playing this with my friends. I've been playing this in my household and online, and I'll probably play it on like over the holidays with people coming over, because Mario Party is like a staple. Like everybody casuals, like understand Mario Party and like enjoy playing it with others. And we all get fake mad at each other when we're playing. A lot of the mini games are truly, really enjoyable in this. It's pretty to look at. Yeah, Mario, let's go. Let's go. I mean,
well, our next genre is RPG role-playing game. Jordan, do you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah, I'll go first, man. I can't just give Paper Mario the 1,000-Year Door every RPG, whatever, everything, So
Yeah.
my pick this year is going to Mario and Luigi Brothership, which I think, got a really bad rap in the review circuit, because now that I'm like 90% done with the game, like what an amazing time. I've had so much fun revisiting just the Mario and Luigi like formula. Like they basically they nailed it to me, and just like breaking it down into more bite-sized chunks. RPGs are typically too long for me to really enjoy because you have to play like 2 to 3 hour chunks at a time. This one, it's separated by island, and every island maybe takes 30 minutes to an hour max. So I was able to just kind of like parse out this game, play it like 30 minutes to an hour at a time, and just like really enjoy my time with it. And it's a nice breezy RPG, and I had a great time. It's beautiful. It's the best animations that any Mario and Luigi game has had so far, and some of the best animations of the year, if I'm concerned. So for me, that's my RPG of the year.
I'm going to jump in because I also picked that. And so I'll just let Jordan's words carry there. I won't say a lot, but I will say that I didn't even really want to pick Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door for this, because I feel like the gameplay is, I guess it's an RPG, but whenever I play it, that part of it doesn't hit as well for me. I like Paper Mario for the story and the other elements more. But this game's RPG feels a little more traditional, like a more traditional RPG, like the battles and the battle system and all that. And I think it's got a really great battle system and great animations in the battle system or in the battles too. So yeah.
I'll go next because mine's not really an RPG, but that's because I don't think I played any RPGs this year. I'm sorry. I was like realizing at the end of the year, but I had to give an award to this game for something. So I gave this to 1000 Times Resist. And the reason I gave this to 1000 Times Resist is because you walk around and talk to people like you do in a JRPG. And also, there were so many moments when I was playing this game where like the sections that were happening, I would say like there's probably like 10 or 15 moments in this game that feel like that point at the end of a JRPG. Do you know what I mean? Where like the characters are talking to each other and it's like this existential dread about like what it means to be human. Like that happens at the like end of every JRPG game, right? Like that happens constantly in this game. It felt like they basically took all those moments from all the JRPGs that you loved and mashed them all together to make one big long game. This has, we don't have a narrative category at the Golden Headz, but this would absolutely win best narrative and best writing of the year. And so for that reason, I'm giving it to 1000 Times Resist.
Interesting. I also went with not Nintendo, I combined the words Nintendo and title.
It's okay. We did a shot.
A Nintendo. Yeah. So I also went with a non-Nintendo title for this category. And it is time for the summer goes a little bit feral part of the show. Because I'm finally going to start talking about Metaphor Refantasio. Mm-hmm. We're not going to have an RPG category and not talk about this game, y'all. You want to talk about a year where another part of Final Fantasy VII, the remake, aka Rebirth, came out, and that game is so much about the original Final Fantasy VII. Metaphor Refantasio is about what JRPGs are and RPGs are about, and it is not afraid to be about those things. This game is so openly about anti-classism, anti-racism, fighting against like the system, acknowledging like that's what is like no war but class war. It is gorgeous. It is the Persona team making a high fantasy game. So it is also everything that we love about Persona games, but it's not about high schoolers and it's high fantasy. Still has that calendar system that either you love it or you hate it. If you love it, then it is so good. The music, again, take Persona, but make it high fantasy. They literally got the head priest of a well-known temple to do the chanting for all of the battle themes in this. Yes, RPG of the year, RPG of next year, and the year after. This game is, it's so good.
Awesome. Well, our next genre and our final genre for this segment is the platformer. David, I think this one might be best started off by you, or one of our big platformer fans here.
Absolutely. There were a ton of amazing platformers this year, 3D and 2D. So this one is actually pretty hard to pick. But I am going to go with the Big Catch Tackle Box. This is a free game that you can play on Steam. It is a prequel of sorts to a game that will be releasing in 2025 called The Big Catch. This is a game that I absolutely sank all of my time into when this game came out. I 100%ed the demo. You can't really call it a demo. It's like a prologue, I suppose, to this, but it is one of the most expressive platformers I've ever played. It's very difficult, but not in a way that feels unfair. You just have to learn how to move around in this world, and it makes every single like aspect of the playthrough sort of a puzzle, right? Because you have to figure out how to chain your moves together in order to get up to where you need to go. This game absolutely blew my mind, and I cannot wait for the full release of the game next year.
I'm a big platformer fan, but I've mostly been living vicariously through David. I haven't had a chance to play a lot of the amazing platformers he keeps talking about that came out this year. But I'm giving this to UFO 50, which is weird because not every game in UFO 50 is a platformer. But I've only, again, played the first, 7-8 games in the collection, and my favorites are the platformers, and that would be Velgris, Mortal, Ninpek. Those games are really hitting it for me. And I know there's more. And listening to you talk about the game, David, I know I have a lot. Like, I'm really looking forward to what is it, Min Max or
Mini and Max?
Mini and Max.
Yo, hit me up when you play Mooncat, dog.
Okay,
that's gonna retrain your brain on what a platformer can be.
So it's another sort of strange pick, but I'm really enjoying the platforming parts in UFO 50.
Similarly to David in the last category, we're kind of flip-flop on these. I don't play a lot of platformers. It's got to be like a notable game. So I only played one platformer this year. Obviously, it is a well-liked one because it's Animal Well. Kind of reiterate some of the things that Jordan said earlier. It is a very different platformer, part of why I liked it. When a game gets you so invested in it that you get mad when other people try to interact with you, that's a good game, right? I'd be invested. This was like across our household. We would be taking turns playing this game, and then somebody else would try to talk to us because it kind of doesn't always look like you're like super involved. They don't know what's going on in your brain, and you snap at them. You're like nasty to the people that you love. That's a good game. Animal Well made me nasty to people I care about. Platformer of the year.
Yeah, that was also my platformer of the year, Summer. So good pick, dude. Like, something about like that melancholy world, but like the way that you use the items is like super appealing. Like using the Frisbee and then being able to jump on top of the Frisbee and ride the Frisbee and then jump off that.
That was very satisfying. Yeah.
So crazy. Like, and it made me try to solve puzzles in ways that were probably not intended, but totally acceptable. Cause I'm like, oh, I can just hop on the Frisbee and jump up here. And it's like, it's probably not what I'm supposed to do, but can I do it? And is it fun? Hell yeah. So like, I don't know. And then like using the yo-yo and just the way that you move in that game was like so much fun. So yeah, that was also my platformer of the year, just for its inventiveness and the items that you are in the ways you're required to use them.
Also, quick shout out to my runner-up for this category, which was Garbanzo Quest. Had to give a shout out to Garbanzo Quest because that was also an incredible game. Also, friend of the show, a developer on that one. Definitely check that one out if you get a chance. If it was a choice between 3D and 2D, Garbanzo would get my 2D pick of the year. Next up is another Golden Head Award that will be presented by yours truly. And this is the Golden Head Award for Most Frustrating Nintendo Lawsuit. Nintendo was particularly litigious this year, and we're going to be going over some of the biggest ones. The nominees for Most Frustrating Nintendo Lawsuit are the lawsuit against Nintendo Switch Pirate subreddit moderator, lawsuit against owner of modded hardware, lawsuit against Palworld developer Pocket Pair, and the lawsuit against Jesse Keegan for streaming Nintendo games ahead of release. And the Golden Heady for Most Frustrating Nintendo Lawsuit goes to the Pocket Pair lawsuit. Let's give a round of applause to that one, because what made that really frustrating was it turned out that they're only suing them for like $30,000 or something. It's like not that much.
Not only
and then
that,
it's based on gameplay patents.
Correct. Which I don't think should exist. Yes.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that.
I think it's frustrating because I think we all agree that it should be about more like the designs of these characters as opposed to gameplay mechanics. I think that's weak, but I think
we just need a complete overhaul of the copyright and trademark system, but that is a podcast episode topic for another day.
Fair.
I'm going to tuck in my radical opinions on copyright and move on to the individual categories, which we have going on here. I'm going to start with my individual category. We all pick one every year. Sorry, I'm kind of taking over your job of leading the show here, Patrick. Apologies.
You're great.
But my category this year is the best UFO 50 game because there are 50 to choose from, and they're all incredible. This was actually incredibly hard for me to pick one game out of all of the amazing games in the UFO 50 collection. And I might have a different opinion on this if you ask me this tomorrow. But as of now, I have to say that my favorite game in UFO 50, the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart, is Campanella. The first of 3 mainline Campanella games and many spin-offs in the UFO 50 collection. Campanella plays like a wonderful mashup of Lunar Lander, or kind of those games where you kind of propel yourself by pressing a single button to thrust upward, and also a game kind of like Super Monkey Ball, where your goal is to get to the end without hitting the walls or losing as many lives as possible. I think one of the many reasons that I also love Campanella is because of the way that it influenced a lot of the other games in the pack. Campanella 2 was an incredible experience. Campanella 3 takes the entire gameplay and turns it on its head. This is one that I can personally see myself going back to over and over, and probably speed running as well. I feel like speed running this game would be an incredibly fun experience. So Campanella gets my pick for best UFO 50 game. And I tell you, gang, that was not an easy decision.
I'll give out my individual award next. It's I like to do this one every year, and that's the best game to play with my kid. I think it's my kid at this point. I used to just say a kid, but he's getting older, and so the award is getting changing every year in terms of what's best with him. And I like to give this to the Nintendo game, partly because those are usually really great to give or to play with your kid. But this was a tough year for this award. On its surface, there was hardly any first-party Nintendo games that had multiplayer. Mario versus Donkey Kong actually had a 2-player mode that you could play, but we butted heads a lot playing that game together because it's kind of slow movement and you yell at each other, and it wasn't a great experience. We had fun, but I wouldn't recommend that one. We had a lot of fun playing Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, but no, I'm going to give this award to Mario and Luigi Brothership. I think in terms of us playing a game together that is single player, this game has been the best experience we've had, where I have felt very happy watching him play and very happy playing. And we've been very good at passing the controller back and forth. I think because it is a longer game, because, the battles can be repetitive, arguably, but, so if you're not feeling like a battle, pass the controller over. So that one has been a really great game for me to play with my kid this year.
Nice. Similarly to Patrick, I do think that I have a category that is just going to carry on with me. I am a cosplayer. So my category is the best cosplay fodder game. The qualifications for this game or for this award are basically a game that came out this year that inspired cosplays this year in a way that I found to be more trend setting worthy. Yes, there are games that came out this year that had really interesting designs, but I'm going with a game that I immediately picked up on. Oh, regardless of whether we've played this game or not, we are cosplaying from it. And the award has to go to, for that reason, Princess Peach Showtime.
Hey, good one.
A Princess Peach Showtime cosplay group that had every version won Best in Show at Anime Magic this year. Princess Peach as a staple is already like a major cosplay goal for a lot of cosplayers, specifically just the wig alone, like getting those perfect bangs. So you take that wig, you've got to do it across how many different outfits, and then she's got different kinds of hairstyles across all of these different outfits. And then you just have all of these different outfits. And then you have a dream cosplay group. You don't have to fight about who's going to be Peach if we can all be Peach.
That's a great point.
This has literally solved that crisis in my personal friend group, where we were always like, well, who gets to be Peach? Well, guess what? Princess Peach Showtime came out. We get to all be Peach. Now we just have to fight over who gets to be Elsa Peach.
Just let it go.
Yeah. Yes.
All All right. So my category is, man, there's just so many games that came out this year, not even just Nintendo, just all over the place. And my backlog every year grows longer and longer. But so my award is, no, I swear I'll play this next year and it won't just sit in my backlog for the next 3 years. That's my award. And the award for that goes to Echoes of Wisdom, because that is the game I have not started at all this year and is crazy. As a huge 2D Zelda fan, the fact that I haven't even touched that game.
That is wild that you have not even started that yet.
Yeah. So I'm just like, shit. I guess, yeah, I definitely am playing this next year. But I also said that this was the year that I would play Elden Ring. And I have not touched Elden Ring either. So
Fuck Elden Ring.
Yeah, just get good. So anyway, Echoes of Wisdom. Let's check in around this time, 2025, and let's see if I played Echoes of Wisdom.
And with that, we've got our next Golden Headz award. The category is the best industry trends of 2024. The nominees are death of live service games, end of exclusivity, blockchain and NFT games not gaining ground, and increased interest in portability. The award goes to increased interest in portability. Let's go.
Yes.
Truly, this nomination is honestly close to my heart as we all show our Switches off because we all have them with us, right? Yes, look at this. So I truly have been a handheld gamer my entire life. Most of my favorite games have been on handheld systems. I still play my 3DS. I was thinking about that this year. All of the hours, like all of these recaps. And then I realized how many hours I still put into my 3DS this year because I take it with me to work on the train. Handheld gaming kind of used to be just kind of seen as like like it's for kids. And I have always taken my handheld device with me everywhere. Maybe part of it is the nostalgia, just like sitting in the back of the car, sitting at the auctions that my mom used to drag me to. And I used to be playing Pokemon. But like we're realizing how nice it is as an adult to take it with you.
Yeah, and not only are we staring down the barrel of like a new handheld console war, which I'm excited about. The time for emulator handhelds has never been better. Yes. I literally keep my RG 35XX SP in my pocket like 100% of the time. I take it with me everywhere I go, so I'm never bored. And it's a fantastic time to be a handheld gamer.
Absolutely.
Well, we've got a couple more sort of individual picks here. And we're going to start off with the best non-2024 game played in 2024. So this is a game that did not release this year, but that we each played and moved us or was an important game for us this year. Who has one that they want to lead off with here?
I'll lead off with my favorite game that I played this year that I should have played 3 years ago was Bowser's Fury. Man,
oh, wow. Yeah.
What an incredible experience. And like it's fun to play it this year, knowing that Nintendo is probably going to release a Mario game based off this concept next year. And
you think so?
Seeing, I 100% am on board. I think it's going to be like an open world style Mario game in the way of Bowser's Fury. Just such a fun little like 5-hour experience to 100%. Like I was never bored. I did have to look up one thing. It was finding the cats.
The cats!
Yes.
Why'd you say it like that?
I also one thing I had to look up too. When you said that, I was like, it's the fucking cats, wasn't it?
I also replayed Bowser's Fury this year. It is an incredible game.
It's so good. And
the only flaw is the cats.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's your only flaw, man, I'd take a 99.5% good game over most games any day. So, but just, what a joy, man. Like, I really love that. That's probably my favorite game that I should have played 3 years ago, but I did not play till this year.
Also, if you want to play another Bowser's Fury, play the Big Catch Tackle Box. The Big Catch Tackle Box is basically Bowser's Fury, but released in 2024. Very, very good. And we've got a couple Bowser's Fury likes coming out next year, too. I'm very excited about.
and on the trend of, games we should have played 3 years ago, one of the games I spent the most time with this year was finally my first foray into the Yakuza series. My game of the year that is not from this year is Yakuza Like a Dragon, aka Yakuza 7, aka the game starring Ichiban Kasuga, aka the character who is maybe the love of my life, incredible protagonist. I cannot believe I haven't played a Yakuza game before this. I ended up putting more than 100 hours into it, not because of the story, but because of the mini games. I cannot believe how fully fleshed all of the mini games are in this. I spent so much time just playing Dragon Kart, which is just Mario Kart with the characters in Yakuza, and it is almost as good as Mario Kart. I was playing it constantly. The business simulator portion of this, I can't get over how good these games are, let alone just the life lessons to take away from it. Cannot believe how incredible, like just the main theme of your game being, yes, you are 45. Yes, it is okay to try new things, still make friends, lifelong like connections. They are still lifelong connections because you still have life to live. That being the big takeaway, what a wonderful message as we're still kind of coming off of the past couple of years. I am so excited to continue playing these games. I've already continued to jump on into this series. Wow, I'm sorry. I could keep gushing about Yakuza. It's a game that I needed to play. Love it.
My pick for best non-2024 game played in 2024, and this is a game that I kind of forgot that I played because this was back in January, but when I was going back and looking at my games, I realized this was a big one, was Control. Basically, when I found out that Alan Wake 2 was coming out, I was like, I'm going to play through all the Remedy games to get ready for Alan Wake 2. So I played Alan Wake, and then I played Control, and then I forgot that I was going to do that. So I need to go back and play Alan Wake 2 finally. But I did play Control, and boy, howdy, did I love Control. Pretty incredible game with an amazing vibe, an incredible setting, and very fluid controls and an excellent Metroidvania style progression. I'm very excited for Control 2 when that inevitably comes out. And I think they're making a multiplayer game set in the Control universe, if I'm not mistaken. Also playing some of the Alan Wake themed DLC made me really excited to then go forward and play Alan Wake 2, which has Control DLC, right? So I love the whole universe that Remedy is creating over there. If you haven't played Control, you could play a cloud version on Switch, but I would not recommend that. Play the real version when it eventually comes out on Switch too, if that's the only console that you'll have. But yeah, Control is a pretty amazing game.
My pick for this category is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. So this is my first time ever playing the Minish Cap this year. I also kind of had to like look back through a list of, and I actually take a picture with my kid every time we beat a game together. Aww. So I was like trying to think of all the different ways I could think through all the games I played this year in advance of this. And I was looking through the pictures and I saw this one. I was like, oh yeah, we had a really good time. I really enjoyed the Minish Cap. I'm going to give that award to this one. Fantastic 2D Zelda. With a really interesting and unique twist with the size changes that you have to go through to solve puzzles and stuff like that. So had a really good time playing that one. So that's what I give that award to. Nice. And next up, we have Gaming Moment of the Year. So this is an interesting category where we kind of talk about, something that personally affected us. Doesn't have to be a game. It could be a game, but some sort of event or moment that happened. Does anybody have one that they want to start us off with?
I really want to go first because, it is so bizarre to me, having been doing this podcast for a little while and then even been guesting on. But this is the first time Patrick and I ever met in person was at San Japan. And the fact that is like the first time we ever met is like, one, wild, but two, it's centered around video games because I was helping him out with tabling for Monochrome Heights. And I don't really go to conventions or fests a lot of the times. So to be surrounded by so many like-minded people or people even nerdier than I perceive myself to be, I'm like, damn, okay, I don't feel so alone. It was like really nice, you know. And then it was also just like really nice in the way to like get to meet Patrick for the first time and in person, and just yeah, that was just a beautiful moment, and probably that is definitely my favorite gaming moment of the year for sure.
Mm.
I also had that on my list. I couldn't pick one, guys. I have 3, so you'll have to forgive me. I'll be brief on them, but Jordan already said it. So meeting Jordan at San Japan and getting his help, and that was a really great experience. So that was actually on my list. The other 2 I have on here is I got to do a game jam with my son this year, and he is just really taken off in his game development this year, and I'm really proud of the little game we made, and we're actually continuing to work on it. But like, it was just such an awesome experience, literally having him here and me and him working on these computers and like sending each other art and him dropping it in the game and all that kind of stuff. Really big moment for me. And then maybe the one I want to end with is the Splatoon 3 Grand Festival in honor of Ivy.
Yes.
All of us naming ourselves Ivy in the game and thinking about her and reminiscing about her, and the way that timed out with her passing was a really big moment. For this year.
Yeah, that was a really that was an eye-opening experience on just like the power of our friend group in this community and this found family, like we've talked about. That was truly a special, and it felt almost like ordained with the timing, like you said, Patrick, of the Grand Festival happening, and then just how crazy that whole event was this year. That was very special indeed. Yeah, that was one of mine as well. I'm gonna make it a little bit more me-centric though for my pick. And I think one of my gaming moments of the year was basically when I was playing UFO 50, I was about 18 hours into Campanella 2 or something like that. A very fucking difficult game in UFO 50. It is basically the Spelunky 2 of the collection. And I was just banging my head against the wall trying to beat this game over and over. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to stream this game, and I'm not going to stop streaming until I beat Campanella 2. And I tried over and over, and I failed over and over and over. And I was like, you know what? This isn't going to happen. This is going to be my last run. And then we're doing it. I give up. I failed. And then on that run, I won. And I felt so amazing. And I popped off, I think, harder than I've ever popped off on stream before. And I think that was absolutely my gaming moment, at least as far as gameplay moment of the year, that I was most proud of, because goddamn, that game was hard. And I finally felt it. And now I just have to get the cherry for that game, which is going to be even harder. But that'll happen someday down the line.
I also selected something more me-centric. Obviously, we can't not talk about Ivy. And how special the Splatfest was to all of us. Truly, we came together as a community, and it was really beautiful. And was reflecting on that a lot, like especially getting ready for this episode and the impact that she's had on our community. But she'd wanted me to make it about me again. So here I go.
That's true.
So my gaming moment, again, people who know me know that I'm going to make it like about things that are gaming adjacent. So my gaming moment was not only getting to perform with the MagFest Community Orchestra this year, and getting to, again, like perform alongside incredible, like professionals within the industry, like the original singer for Snake Eater and Metal Gear Solid, and the, getting conducted to, a medley for Metroid Fusion, like by, the original composer, things like that. That was all incredible. Also, we did the Galdera fight from Octopath Traveler, and I got selected to sing a solo from it, and getting to do that amongst my peers and amongst just other VGM fans in the Gaylord National Atrium to, an audience of thousands of people who are nerds and industry professionals. So cool. Just how could that not be the highlight for a diva like me?
All right, well, we're heading towards the end here. This is our final Golden Headz award that we're giving out tonight. And this Golden Head is going to be for the best Switch 2 leak. In a year full of weird and bizarre and interesting Switch 2 leaks, we've got a handful of nominees here. We've got the Reddit poster who claims to have had hands-on with a Switch 2 and is going to post proof on Christmas. We've got the accessory manufacturers releasing product information and showing off the Switch 2. We've got internet users analyzing international shipment data. And then finally, we have the factory prototype photos. Or were they real? We don't know yet. But the winner for this award is going to go to the Reddit poster who claims to have the Switch 2 and is going to post proof on Christmas. It's Christmas, y'all, so I don't know if you've seen
That's
the proof
true.
out
It is
there,
Christmas
everybody.
today. No.
Or not, but at least pre-Christmas, this is the funniest and most weird situation because people
Christmas
seem to
from
be
the future here. The Switch 2 is out.
Also, people have been corroborating this guy, so we'll see.
Like getting a pinned post from the mod saying that, yes, this is going to happen. Like, hello?
We'll see. Y'all know and we don't, but this is the winner of our final Golden Head Award. And then we're going to head into the final list here, which is just going to be all of us giving our game of the year and actually our top 3 games of the year. So we're going to start out with the third best game of the year. We're going to all go around and give the second and then first. And so I'll go ahead and start us off here with my top 3. And I've mentioned it tonight, and that's Emio the Smiling Man is what I'm putting out in my third slot. That game might be short and it might be weird, but it has really stuck with me, and it's a really great mystery visual novel. So there you go.
I'll go next. My pick for number 3 game of the year is Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble. This game completely blindsided me. I had no faith in it before. Well, maybe I was a little hopeful, but it completely outdid my expectations. The boost mechanic that they added into this game, as opposed to something like the jump mechanic, which was added into Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, where that felt like it was completely changing the game in a way that took away the identity of Super Monkey Ball. The boost mechanic and the spin dash mechanic in Monkey Ball Banana Rumble completely added to the experience and felt like a natural progression of the franchise. The level design is incredible. The music is great. Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is an all-around amazing game.
You want to talk about games that blindsided us this year? My number 3 game of the year has to go to a game that just recently came out and I recently started dumping all of my time into. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
Oh,
wow.
I haven't mentioned it another time tonight, but because I wanted to give awards to other games. I'm not a Bethesda gamer. This game, I'm not even like an Indiana Jones person, but holy cow, this has become like a household experience for us. Like the cinematics of it, really enjoying this. Cannot wait to continue playing it. Exactly. I haven't even beaten it. And that's how much of an impression that it has made on me. You have to physically look down when you pull out your map because it's that immersive. Like, yes, of course it's going to make my top 3. Incredible. I get to punch Nazis in the Vatican.
All right, I'm going to renew Game Pass for 1 month, play it, and then cancel again.
Exactly. It's all you need.
No, buy it so I can play your copy.
Oh, fair enough. So my number 3, I'm going to go with Animal Well.
Right
Dude,
on.
like this is just a game that came out of nowhere. I had never even heard about it. And then suddenly everyone in the Discord is talking about Animal Well. And I said, I'm not going to give in to peer pressure. I'm not going to buy this game. I don't need to buy it. My backlog's so long. And then the more people kept talking about it, I said, shit, I'm going to buy this game. And then I just absolutely love the melancholy sounds and visuals and the weird platforming and weirdness and just absolutely loved it. It's definitely my number 3 game of the year.
Moving on to round 2 of our second place for game of the year. I'll start here. My pick for second place game of the year goes to 1000 Times Resist. This is a game whose story will stick with me for many, many years to come. It tackles themes like the isolation that we all felt after the COVID pandemic, having to wear a mask, some people that are immunocompromised having to live with that for the rest of their lives, the fallout of the Hong Kong protests from 2019, what it means to be an immigrant and what it means to leave home in places that you can never truly go back to, and then themes about what it truly means to be human. This is a game that tackles topics and it tells a story unlike anything I've ever seen in video games before. I recommend everybody play this game. It's on sale right now on all the platforms. Please go play 1000 Times Resist.
When you said that I should play this game, you should have led with all of that, because now I'm like, oh yes, those are all my things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've maybe got nostalgia goggles for my second best game of the year. I am giving it to Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I said a lot of it already. The just beautifully crafted, incredible remake. I know how we feel about remakes. Whatever. Don't care. So nostalgic for this. Made it beautiful. My sister and I talk about it like once a week to each other. That's what matters to me. Just fantastic experience all around.
Yeah, totally. And that is also my number 2.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're a little simpatico a little bit on this list, but I'm just like, yeah. And you know what? For me, this is my first time playing it. So you know what? To be fair,
there you go.
It is a brand new game to me, as well as being.
You're wearing nostalgia glasses.
Nostalgia.
My amber tinted. What's the opposite of rose? I don't know. Whatever. My tulip tinted glasses.
A different flower.
But yeah, man, it was just what an incredible game, man. Like, seriously, probably one of my favorite RPGs of all time, and probably my favorite Mario RPG. And as a Mario and Luigi stan forever, that is crazy to say out loud. So, Summer, you were correct. That game is absolutely worth every word you've ever said about it.
I love being right. Thank you so much. I feel so validated.
My number 2 pick, it might have ended up being my number 1 if I'd started it sooner. This is kind of like what you said about Indiana Jones. I have really been getting heavily into UFO 50 over the recent month. And I think, like, talking about this game, like David, you already kind of told me this, but now I'm experiencing it. Like, I'm trying to make retro style games. Seeing somebody put together this collection of new retro style games, it's kind of similar to some things I have been thinking about down the line and in the future and stuff. And it's really inspiring. And it's really amazing. And I'm just really enjoying it. And it's sitting at number 2 because I haven't played enough to put it at number 1, but I think it might have been if I had started it months ago. So that's where it's sitting for me.
We're going to start seeing UFO 50 likes.
Oh man. Yeah. There already are UFO 50 likes, and it's called Action 52, and that game is terrible. But I'll go ahead and move on to our number 1 game of the year, because this should come as no surprise. I bemoaned any time it was snubbed at any of these game of the year lists or awards that have been happening. UFO 50 is absolutely far and away my favorite game of the year. I think that UFO 50, we did an episode on this, and I named the title of that episode UFO 50 is a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece. And I was like, man, is this going a little bit too hard? Am I glazing this game a little bit too much? But no, I think it is a revelation of a game. Patrick, you were talking about how it's inspiring for you. That is why I've wanted you to play the game so much, because it takes the idea of a classic retro game, and every single one of them has something in it that makes it completely unique, unlike anything you've ever played before. And then on top of that, just the fact that this is 50 incredibly amazing games, you also have this meta narrative of the story of this company that never existed. You've got secrets and like hidden terminal codes that you can play. You've got like an overarching story and vibe. The game is it is an astounding, momentous achievement that I don't know that we'll ever see again. And this is coming from somebody that is an enormous Spelunky fan, but I think this is the best game that Mossmouth has ever put out.
Well, I'll go ahead and just go, because Summer and Jordan gave this their number 2. I'm giving it my number 1. Again, like I said, if this had been a little bit different of timing, I might have put UFO 50 here. But one of the biggest gaming experiences for me this year was playing Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. That game.
Wow.
That's why you were shy about it for the rest of the night.
It was really incredible, and I wanted to give different awards to different games throughout the night. But you know, like I said, I think Brothership has been a better experience with my son, but just the variety of gameplay, even though it's all through battles, the way they made battles be different in the different sections, in particular, the Glitz Pit and the train really stuck out to me. One thing I really love about Paper Mario is all these different sort of narrative elements that they mix into the gameplay, and this game did it really well.
Yes. All right. So my number 1 pick is a game I have not mentioned almost the rest of the night, but my number 1 pick is Balatro. I was
This is the first Balatro mention of the evening.
Oh, and it's a game of the year.
Dude,
Yeah.
I had to do it. I mean, like, this is the game. Like, I'm a huge Slay the Spire fan, so much so that I then played a bunch of fucking Monster Train, and then I was a huge Monster Train fan. I was like, what's the next in the line? And the answer was Balatro. Like, dude, Valerie spent so much time watching me just like, fuck, like just yelling at my screen because my numbers weren't big enough. Like, this game makes no sense, like, when you're watching it, but when you're playing it, you're like, oh my God, I cannot stop thinking about how to get big number. I need to get the biggest number I can get. And just the way that the mechanics all work together, and like learning of the jokers and just the aesthetic, and it just like tickles every itch that my brain has for these type of games. And like, dude, I put a certain amount of hours into it, and I was like, I need to tuck this away, but I still open it every once in a while and play, because I'm like, dude, I just can't stop. And that's why it's like, this has got to be my number 1 game of the year. Summer?
Yeah, mine is also a game that I haven't been able to stop thinking about, and it's my game of the year is going to Metaphor Refantasio.
There we go.
I kind of echoing like reasons that you all have picked your game of the year. Yes, again, I haven't been able to stop thinking about this game. Haven't been able to stop thinking about what this game is. It is taking so many good things that we love about other RPGs and JRPGs, and it is in a culture, in a gaming. When we are currently in a gaming culture, we are still feeling the effects of Gamergate. So much discourse about being anti-woke and wokeness and blah, blah, blah. And this game is literally in your face about being anti-racist. This game is about an election, and it came out so close to ours. This game is about anti-fascism. This game is not afraid to be about those things. It is not afraid to be about what JRPGs used to be about and now just dance around in their messaging. And does a stylish, good job of doing it. Good God, Metaphor Refantasio. If you like that kind of stuff, then you're going to like this game. The characters are also phenomenal. I could keep going on about it. It's really special. It really is. And it's actually in some ways surprising that it came from this Persona devs, because yes, the Persona games are great, but they do lack in some areas. This game really does pick up in the places that Persona kind of fails in. And that's like the social commentary areas, right? This game it's like they took all of that and said, okay, we know how to fix this. We're going to swing the other direction and just go completely woke. It's excellent.
All right. Well, that is it. And that brings us to a close on the 6th annual Golden Headz Awards. Oh, we did it.
We did it. A little boozier than normal, but we did it.
We are going to take another short break, and we're going to close out the episode with the games that we've been playing recently. Almost all the games I've been playing recently, I've talked about recently on episodes, or I just talked about, but I've been getting back into Mario and Luigi Brothership after kind of abandoning it, not just kind of moving away and playing other games, but we started playing it again today. So hopefully we'll finish that soon. Been playing a lot of UFO 50, like I've been talking about tonight. Playing a lot of Minecraft Dungeons with my son, just really enjoying that game. And then I have been kind of getting addicted to Street Fighter 6. I still haven't played an online match because I'm trying to get good against the computer. But all these games, I think, are games I'm going to be talking about when we return with maybe more updates. So yeah, that's me.
I'll go right next because the only game I've been playing in between doing this gig was Mario and Luigi Brothership. Because I'm like, this is a perfect game for me to like wind down my day. I can just play it for like 45 minutes to an hour and go to bed. So that's pretty much all I've been playing. And that's why I'm like, okay, I'm so close to the end. I think I'm like maybe 1 or 2 bosses away from being done. I'd be curious to hear where you're at, Patrick. We can talk about that another time. But yep, loving it. It is probably my 3rd favorite Mario and Luigi game out of all of them. But I need to play Paper Jam. Anyway, that's what I've been playing.
Yeah, maybe Paper Jam will crack the #1 spot. But I will also be playing a bunch of new games very soon. I have to make an admission. I did buy like 5 Steam games like while this episode was going on. So.
Okay, will you tell us?
What I got?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I picked up Tetrachroma, which is a Tetris game. I picked up that game, Arranger, that I used to shit on, and I kind of felt bad for shitting on it. I picked that up. Void Stranger was one that I picked up. And a couple others as well. But I haven't played any of those, so I'm not going to talk about it in the games we're playing section. A couple others, but I kind of forget. Look, I'm kind of drunk. What I will talk about is that I played the Tetris 99 Maximus Cup for Echoes of Wisdom. That was a ton of fun. I think I got that in like 1 or 2 victories. Very happy about that. I love playing Tetris 99. Kururin Paradise is a game I've been playing on my Ambernick device, my little handheld. That's been a ton of fun to play. I don't know if you guys played Kururin. It's a sequel to that. It's got all the gameplay of Kururin, but it also has these like really fun kind of like Flappy Bird sections. There's like a Flappy Bird section, and then there's also like there's all these like little mini games that kind of act as boss battles like throughout the game, and it kind of expands on the Kururin formula. So I've been really enjoying that. And then lastly, I did want to give a shout out to a game that I've been meaning to talk about all of these weeks, but I just keep pushing it off because I've been playing too many other games. And that's been Rivals of Aether 2. I did pick that up during the autumn sale on Steam, and I've been playing that a little bit with my friends. Not a super big amount, but it is a very fun Smash-like. I would like to play this with you sometime, Patrick, and see what you think about it because you're a big Smash player.
Yeah.
I will say that I kind of regret picking up the second game instead of the first game because the first game has tons of mods and there is 0 Steam Workshop support for the second game. It kind of makes sense because the first game is a pixel art game and it's a lot easier to mod in pixel art characters to create like full 3D characters with full animations and everything like that. So I kind of understand. So I feel like if I'd picked up the first one instead of the second one, I'd have more of like a complete experience. But I am still very much enjoying the way that Rivals of Aether 2 plays. I think I just need to play with more people that are actually good at Smash because I keep playing people that are like kind of into Smash and then they're like, this is like sort of fun. And then we bounce off and then we just don't pick it back up. So I think sometime, Patrick, you and I need to get together and play Rivals of Aether 2.
Real briefly, my cousin and Bent Neatley, the musician for Monochrome Heights, I play tons of Smash with them regularly, and they both have bought this game and are telling me I need to get it, and I've been playing it a lot lately, so I probably will pick it up and play it soon.
Well, if they also own it, then that'd be cool if maybe we all played online sometime.
Maybe I need to pick this up. Okay.
Summer, what about you?
Yeah, nothing super new to report. I do want to mention that we played Mario Kart this weekend with the Super Switch Headz community. Had a really good time with that, mostly because I actually got first a couple of times, and like I don't know, I can probably count on one hand the number of times that I've beaten David in a race. So like it's worth mentioning just for that alone.
Okay, just rub it in on the fucking podcast, why don't you?
Yes, I'm rubbing it in that you are like the king of Mario Kart in our Discord. So yes, it is.
Actually, that feels pretty good to hear you say that.
Yes, I'm saying it's a feat to beat you in a race like a handful of times. Like, and how many times have we played Mario Kart together? Like at least 30. Like, okay. I also just continuing to play Yakuza 0. Don't have a lot to report. Just continuing to get through it. It is super enjoyable. Like, wish I had played it sooner. Continuing to play Indiana Jones. It's so satisfying. And I tried to find a way to get this into our awards. Couldn't quite find a place for it. I thought about giving it to Best Visual, but Infinity Nikki really did have to take that. Pokemon TCGP. I am playing it every day. I am logging in every day.
Me too.
I wake up, I open a pack. While I'm in the app, I go ahead and do a couple of online matches, make a couple of tweaks to my decks. Before I go to bed, as soon as we're done with this podcast, I'm going to open another booster pack. I'm going to check and see. I'm going to play a couple of online matches. Pokemon TCG, especially like some of these cards in this new, in the new booster that they just released. Yeah, love that Mew is here. It's really satisfying. Visually, right? I thought about it. Like, oh, it really does capture that. It does capture that nostalgic feeling of opening Pokemon decks.
It is a very satisfying game in totality.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Jordan is live pulling. We got Magikarp. We got Pidgey. We got Rapidash. We've got Swirlix and Leaf.
Lame.
Kind of a shitty booster, TBH.
Let's not open on the podcast ever again because that sucked. Bad luck.
All right.
We're not doing that again.
Well, that's it for the 6th annual Golden Headz Awards episode. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks also to MilkyWay.co, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me online, you can find me as PDYX.
You can find me at Weebwitched.
You can find me at Boardan.
I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And if you'd like to find our show on social media, we are at Switch Headz on Blue Sky and Twitter. We are at Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We have a website, switchheadz.com. And you can also join our Patreon and our Facebook group and our Discord. We'll have links to all three of those in the description of the show, whether you're watching it on YouTube or you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Please give us a like and a follow and subscribe over there on YouTube. Leave us a review on Apple and Spotify. We'd really appreciate that. And then, like we said, feel free to chuck in a buck over there on our Patreon or join our Discord. What a wonderful community full of people that we love. You can yourself join in on the Secret Santa next year. What a fantabulous time that'll be for all involved. This is the second time that I've done this spiel today because we have recorded 2 episodes today. That's going to do it for this episode of Super Switch Headz and the final episode of Super Switch Headz of the year. Wow, gang. 2024 was a pretty amazing time for this podcast. We haven't really had any time to really kind of talk about what this year was like, but man, we had some incredible guests this year. I think we had some pretty great growth. I think we had some amazing topics and some shows that I'm really, really proud of. So I just want to say from all of us to you, thank you guys so much for continuing to support the show. I still love doing this show. It is one of the highlights of my week every single week, and the fact that you guys continue to listen to the show means so much to us. I can't wait to continue to do more shows for you guys next year, including a very special episode that'll be coming out next week. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, gang, you guys know the deal. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. Next time you hear from me, I'm going to be in jolly old England. All right? We love you very much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.